Hi, I'm Sandy Schroeck for LBR Educates, and today we're going to be talking about the design element of space. It's defined as the area in, around, and between the components in the design. It's also the three-dimensional space that it occupies. So there can be different varieties of space, so we're going to take a look at this arrangement. So I'm starting here, and you can see that I've started with an elongated container, and we're going to make an arrangement that's going to have a void in the middle here. And what that's going to do is really increase my perceived value. And so I'm going to sell some air is kind of what it comes down to. You can see that I'm not taping this foam in. I'm using some of the pieces of foam that I cut off to be able to tie that foam right into the container. Then I don't have to worry about hiding any tape. I've cut my foam so that it's recessed in the container. And then we're gonna start off with coming in with a piece of Aspidistria, and I'm just gonna flip it back over on itself. And thus it's gonna create that area of void in the middle. So you can see how easily that's done. And I like to use the variegated Aspidistria just to give it a little bit more personality. Then lastly, to pin it in and kind of mark this area, that this is the area I'm not going to put anything in. I'm going to come in and pin that down with an Aspidistria leaf here in the middle. We'll have it come in. So you can see now I've marked my area that is like, do not put flowers here. This is going to be my void that's in the middle. When we talk about space, going to start off with kind of a linear garden. Right now I'm going to just poke right through that Aspidistria, coming in. And so you can see that it's a clean, simple line. I'm using a turntable to kind of see, and I'm holding the stem to the side of the table to be able to judge how that stem is going to be cut, so that they stair step down and in my design. So I've got that on this side, and then I'm going to use some Equisetum or snake grass. Now here, this is a little bit softer stem, so I need to poke my knife through the Aspidistria to get it to go in. All right, then our flowers are going to come in next. So over here, I'm going to add some Alstromeria. And then we're going to add some focal florals to enhance the Liatris over here. I've got some Pomponi gerbs that we grow here in Minnesota at Lembush. It's a new style of gerb that has multiple petals on it. So you can see I am paying attention to the directions of the heads so that they do follow that stair step down and come into that void in the middle. Next, we're going to add some textural elements. So I've got a shiny green Fatsia that I'm going to come in and just extend out that end and this end. Tie together. And then add some of the roses. And so these are a larger focal flower. I'm gonna look for a little bit smaller one, and you can see that I'm stair stepping these in. So I'm holding it to the side there to determine where to cut that so that we get that stem insertion that goes all the way down into the bottom. And then we're gonna bring this one right down into the focal area. And then I'm going to put one of these on this side to bring your eye back. And next we're just adding some textural elements. So here I've got some Hypericum that adds that waxy green finish. And you can see that I'm also not keeping it a real narrow line. So we're going back and forth, that your eye is going to move throughout this design from one of the components to the next. And each one has its own place within the design that really helps it all flow together. So lastly, I'm just going to come in with some chrysanthemums. You can change the appearance of this a little bit more from a mass flower to a little bit more of a line flower by editing where some of those blooms are. And then you can use those blooms that you've taken off in a basing technique. But you can see how you can alter the look and create more of a line flower out of that chrysanthemum. So here you can see an intentional void that we had. You can see how we've created those two vertical presents of it, and then also controlled the eye movement coming from one side to the other. Did a little bit with a little bit darker colors down in that focal area with some of those basing pieces to really enhance those techniques. So on this composition, we just used the Equisetum going straight up. But if you wanted to add a little bit more tension to this design, you could always use a stronger wire and run that up the Equisetum, and then you can bend it so that we could add a little bit more tension into this design and give it a little bit more of an updated look. Another technique that you could use would be framing. So here you can see I've got the Italian ruscus, and what I'm doing is looking at the back side here. I want to get more of a clean line coming through, and then I'm just using my hand to create that tension. And you can come in how you could extend that and use that framing. And you'll see on the other design that we use that technique. So these are just some ideas how you can use space in the design. It increased the perceived value. You get to be selling some air, which is very profitable. And it really allows you to give your customers a little bit different look. It's visible from all sides, and it's kind of like walking through the garden. I'm Sandy Schroeck for LBR Educates, and I hope I've inspired you to create some fabulous florals.